We're going to open the April 16, 2025 Select Board meeting. Do we have any adjustments to the agenda? Hearing none, I'll take a motion to approve the minutes of April 2nd, 2025.
I'll make that motion.
Give a second.
I'll second.
We're open for discussion. Do we have any corrections, deletions? Additions? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? So carried. Comments from the community? Community. Jim?
Hello.
Correspondence. I don't know if you filled out, the Regional Planning Commission has to update their regional plan, for flood resiliency, economic growth, land use and housing development, because there's new legislation, requiring it to be done. They're trying to get input from all the member municipalities and the general public. I didn't know if the board has filled out any of the survey yet. It was at town meeting.
I believe the planning commission did a version of that.
Anyway, what did you do? I got a survey for you. Heard.
It did not tell me.
Okay.
It didn't take that long.
No. Yeah, what did you do? They wanted me to live elsewhere in Vermont or outside of Vermont. Questions. We received a, March report from the Wolcott Sheriff's Department. I'll pass around. And also, probably everyone got one of these in their mail.
Sorry, I'm late.
It's okay, we're happy to have you.
Thank you for.
From the solid waste newsletter.
It's too bad you don't have any more real essential bags, but.
Okay, we'll move on to, the appointment of town officers. Michelle has out a draft, just a single discussion. From last week, we're still working on it, trying to get, one of the things we did was we brought the planning commission and development review board, so people who serve on both committees or boards, their terms will come in at the same time. It's kind of a mishmash, so we kind of put that together. We do have tonight, one appointment that is, and that is the Northeast Kingdom Broadband. Bruce Wheeler would like to continue to serve as our town representative to that. Well, I guess we could just make a motion on all of these, I guess, rather than. I explained to Michelle, some of these people, there aren't many that are, by statute that we have to appoint. A tree warden is one that we have to appoint. The other ones, like the planning, the transportation, the Solid Waste District, the governing board for the PUDs, CUDs, they're all asking towns to appoint them through their organization. And their terms come up differently. Some terms are 5 years, some are 2 years. And we might find that as we go on into this later in the spring, we'll get some more of these, but at the present time, these are the people who are serving in those capacities right now. And down the bottom is the ones where we make a recommendation to the state, but the state actually appoints and oversees the fire wardens and health officers. Is Ryan coming to you?
It's 15.
Okay. Well, do you want to do the top? I did reach out to Keith, feeling about energy coordinator, no response whatsoever. He hasn't responded much of anything, so I would say that he's not really interested in that position. We've never had anyone do anything in that position. Do we want to continue to have it? You mentioned you were interested in it.
Because at the time I thought that it was a required position. I looked it up and we don't
No.
need to have one.
No, we don't.
Can anybody think of any reasons why it would be advantageous to have one? I mean, I don't see any reason to fill the position. If it opens up some funding doors, I'll put my name there, but I'm gonna be as effective as Key was. I don't have any grand plans.
I think in some towns, like, there's a group of people that are really into it and neat, but I haven't really heard our citizens with much interest in it.
Well, and we don't really have any alternatives available to us.
No, like in Craftsbury though, they have workshops, they do those window quilts for low income people, and they have workshops all the time, they have Button Up Vermont come and do workshops. I mean, there are, actually the person who leads it lives in Wolcott, but, you know, they have a pretty active group there, but I have not heard any people in our town that have that desire to.
I think we've pretty much tried to get what we could for the town buildings, and I think it's up to the other. Being older homes, they're gonna have to get somebody from the state to help them out.
Yeah, I think if this building had some documentation on other programs that exist, I mean, efficiency bond is a huge thing. So let's get a couple of flyers and put it somewhere out front with all the other forms. What else can we really do? That and the residential building energy standards. Handle it, you know, put that into our zoning application. In my mind.
It's the board, in agreement that we'll just remove energy coordinator at this time,
Yes.
unless someone steps up and really has a desire. And the green up share, Bradley is not doing it.
He said he would feel more comfortable after he does this year to do it next year, but he did not want it to be signed next year.
Does that mean we advertise for it?
I think that we just appoint him later in the year. It's my kind of take on it.
All right. So we'll need to wait on the emergency management coordinator and assistant until Ryan comes. Yeah, we kind of, yeah, the planning commission, Jim Roberts is up for the planning commission and we're just starting to talk about the emergency management director. Wonder what your thoughts were. Appointing officers.
I know that, Steve and I have talked about switching positions as far as manager versus assistant. That's your guys' wishes, or? Yeah, official, or?
Yeah, we want to make it official tonight, but we want to make sure that it was, we didn't want to appoint you without a discussion with you about that.
Yeah, no, I think it's fine. I think, it's an opportunity to, as I was looking through your plan and other, kind of gaps that are there as far as positions, I think, having a conversation maybe even outside of this meeting on a more formal, just focus on emergency management and, bring some people in to talk about that.
And so after we appoint a few town officers, then we're gonna spend a half an hour on emergency management.
Okay.
For the town.
You know that an email from Michelle was talking about health officer. I'm not interested in that. But why not? I think this will bring with it a fair amount.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Well, thank you. And I think it's emergency manager director, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not coordinator, so we can change that.
It's EOC for center and then emergency EMC for coordinator and EMD. So the, I'll change it to director. And Steve Prince would be the assistant emergency
Yeah.
coordinator or
Yeah.
director.
You'd be the coordinator, that's like the assistant position.
Okay, moving down to just the officers appointed or recommended to the state. Bernard has given his resignation to the fire warden, state fire warden of May 1st. Presently, Jim is the deputy for that. You spoke about it last time, Kurt.
Right. I worked with Bernard for 2 or 3 years, going out, checking sites. Seeing how operations work.
Were you looking at fire warden or deputy?
I would take fire warden, that would free up Jim.
You let people on your property to come fill out a permit, you'll take your sign down? Is there training, Jim, for them?
Once a year currently.
Huh?
Once a year we have annual training.
What else would be required?
Just answering the calls for permits and going inspecting.
Mhm.
And if there's fires, just putting in the report to the state.
The board's feeling, so
No, I'll nominate for going for fire board.
We need to, this is what we take motion about each of these now.
now I'm gonna just do it all with one.
If we strike that, then
We can do, it's halfway there, we'll just finish that one.
so I'm sorry,
Just for the fire warden, we'll do.
and by Lee.
All those in favor of recommending to the state Kurt Billings as our fire warden and Jim Holden as our deputy fire warden? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
Who seconded that?
Alan. Do we know when Bernard has resigned as health officer?
I believe May 1st.
Okay.
I just catch up here.
So we'll be looking for a health officer and a deputy health officer. And if we don't find one, it falls back onto the board. Just like the town service officer. It seems like, I know, Bernard's been busy lately, quite busy. Anyone have any thoughts on that?
I think it's gonna be a challenge for the board to fulfill all duties in the coming years. As the job gets bigger.
Show will have to work now.
You know, I hadn't considered that angle. Never mind, no concerns about
Are these terms 3 years?
I believe so. We'll just leave that open for tonight. We don't have at the moment. So we have before us now a slate of officers. I want to just vote on this as a whole. So every single one.
viewing the biggest changes here. Everybody stays the same, including Bruce Willer. He's gonna stay our NEK. We're the leading energy coordinator. We are the leading postponing green up chair.
Well, emergency management director will be Ryan Bierke.
Yeah. change coordinator.
Yeah. Yeah,
I would make a motion that we approve all the officers listed here as discussed.
we have a second.
I'll second that.
Do you have any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Okay. The other thing we need to add in there, I noticed, but I'm not gonna hold this up, is that we need to have the Memorial Fiber Net Representative Andrew Ross. in there.
He is not on there, oh, the Moyle Fiber Net. Okay, so nobody seems to know who Amber Ross is.
He lives on Town Hill. Come to a couple of our meetings, but probably not since you've been here. Okay, let's move on to the,
I'm sorry, did you say we're gonna have?
well, that position, I mean, if we're doing the Northeast Kingdom broadband, we need to do the Memorial Fiber Net, and he is appointed right now to that.
Okay. And can I ask did Kurt recuse himself? He can't vote for himself. Did he have to recuse himself from that vote?
Yes,
So you didn't vote,
I didn't vote.
so you were in favor?
We want to start this with a local emergency management plan, which we're hoping that he will sign it tomorrow, and we can get it to the state. Then I have on here the memorandum of understanding for the Wolcott school, and just, discussion on, shelter, the shelter, thoughts you might have on how to, you know, if we move up to the school, what will be needed and so forth. And anything else that you see, lacking,
So I mean, I know you've had some gaps in the plan, just as far as positions identified, and I don't know how much of that you need to have filled in order to submit it. You know, as we kind of start working down through. So, I mean, you get, you know, your director, coordinator, those are identified, you know, Jim is a safety officer. Call taker, I mean, that is kind of fluid and generally is probably going to be your director who happens to be working in the emergency operations center at that time. So I don't know if that needs to be labeled as an actual person, or we can just say as assigned as needed. You know, I have some thoughts on some people who might be able to help out if we were really in a situation that needed to be, you know, kind of protracted. It's going to be a few days. You know, right now we currently have your primary location for the emergency operations center here is the town office, because you do have a base station radio and access to phones. Jim and I talked a little bit about utilizing the fire station as well. Because a lot of times they're getting people calling the fire station directly during, say, a flood. And to try and not miss calls that are coming in, because it's hard for them to be managing the phone at their own station if they're out managing scenes and, you know, issues that are going on during an event. So we talked about trying to utilize maybe that as the emergency operations center, because then everything kind of comes to one point there. And you know, they have the same amount of communication ability within their station as you have right here. I would keep everything here though as an extra site, or if you needed, you know, fire station gets flooded, then, you know, we have this as a backup. But I would suggest moving the actual operations center to the fire department. You guys think dinner?
And you're referring to the primary EOC location?
Yeah. So
Is that the place that people would go though?
that's not the shelter. That's the operations center. So
Okay.
We have a portable. Phone,
okay.
but no, good, okay.
maybe that's something, maybe we keep it how it is right now and we talk more about how to make the fire station if it's, a conversation about a generator for there. Just to ensure that we have that as a guaranteed site, so if something goes bad, we're not just automatically going to our secondary site, which is right back here. So I think maybe we need to have a further discussion and just some planning around that piece of it. And because of the generator, your generator works here. I know there's been some bugs with it, but
Yeah, we had it.
okay. So
The thing I can see, if you're moving people to the school, wouldn't it be easier to have it at the school?
as far as the shelter,
No, it's the primary also. Because if you're flooded at the station, fire station, who knows how bad it's going to be here?
I mean, all we have is what we've experienced to this point to kind of play off of, and the fire station got flooded and this didn't during the worst of it at this point. I think having the shelter at the school makes sense as our primary shelter.
Right.
And even though they don't currently have a shower, which is really the only thing it's lacking that this current location has. It's not to say that we couldn't just also have this open for showering facilities if need be, and people can go back and forth. I don't think.
I'm just looking at logistics. At least you could do a head count.
You could, or what I was thinking though is if we adopt the school as a primary site, I think, under staffing was one of the places that, and for here, we got away with not having anyone staff this while it was acting as a shelter. Like it just stayed open, people came and utilized it. I feel more apprehensive about treating the school in the same fashion. And I would say that you need to at least have one person at a minimum staffing that site as a shelter. And that's where I'm kind of looking maybe to the auxiliary and being able to help with that piece of it. The school does have a kitchen, so there is the ability to prepare meals if need be, plenty of space for people to spread out and sleep. And it really, when we talk about the school, it's really just the gymnasium. The kitchen is right there, and also the library was an alternate kind of quiet spot if need be. So if you had people who were nursing, they'd have a private area to be. I don't know that we would need to move the emergency operations center to that location. I think that would take some doing anyways, because you got to create the radio infrastructure and get that in place. I think it's trying to not change too many things at one time. If we can make it work by utilizing the auxiliary, so we know we have one person there. The way I know that might work is because, Natalie goes right at the base of the hill and could, in theory, get there fairly easily if she's willing to do that. She's on the auxiliary. So I think it's just with that kind of caveat in mind, if we're going to use that school as a primary place, we really ought to say we need to have a person on site while it's open and acting in that capacity, just because there's a lot more that you could potentially break up there. So, the school is willing to enter into the agreement with pretty minimal, requests on their part. Just if it's something that we damage, we're going to own that piece of it. If it's based on our actions, they're happy to let us use the kitchen. Full on emergency, and it looks like it's going to be utilized for a period of time. Even access to the food that's on site is a potential. What we're not going to be able to do is store supplies inside the school. And not that we necessarily have a lot of supplies right now. I think they kind of take some space in your closet that you have here, but it would be nice to have cots and things that, people can sleep on if they need to, and have some additional clothing and things that people might need in a pinch. Hardwick's doing a similar thing right now where they actually got a grant and for their emergency planning, and they're purchasing a storage container that'll be based at Hazen, but it'll be just for their emergency response supplies. And so they'll have everything they need there. It's out of the way of the school. And it's controlled by you guys. It's not easily accessed by the people at the school. So I think that's something down the road we want to talk about, and I'm thinking, connecting with Michelle on potentially looking at grants to try and acquire that container and the supplies to go in it. So school makes the most sense because it's the highest point, and it's reasonably accessed from people prior to the water getting too high.
But for, purposes of getting this into the state tomorrow, we're not ready to.
You know, we'll have to,
School,
we'll just have to update it. Once we get the final approval from the school, we just go back and update the plan. Like, I think submit it how you, essentially how you have it right now. And then just know that we're probably gonna change it with a pretty short order, but the school is willing to run there and once you guys were comfortable with it.
Right, so I'd rather talk about moving to the school after.
That's fine. The only other thing that thought you probably ought to add on here under your resources, I know you have an addendum somewhere for this reference, you have 17 people you reached out or organizations you reached out and contracted with or are willing to help as well, but your at the ready list, you already have. There used to be a binder. Is there still a binder associated with emergency management for the town? I'll talk to Steve, maybe I may have passed it up to him. But we had the presentation from Learn, the Memorial Area Recovery Network, which I think is a wonderful resource. And I just would add them into this as one of your community resources because they actually have access to pumps to pump out people's basements. They have supplies. They have the manpower to actually come help people clean up their houses. And so they're looking to be utilized. And I would want to kind of highlight them on this plan. So it's a resource. It's Learn, LEARN.
Oh, okay.
Memorial Area Recovery Network.
So, because it's from the capital and some,
Under your public information piece, you have the texting added in there. Or something went as the form wasn't on the copy that I had emailed to me, so that was one thing we could have. We already put it on. So this is where I'm saying I think we need to have a kind of an independent meeting to sit down and talk about like functionality of how to get in contact with people that we need to as far as these different notification systems and in the midst of the middle of the night when we need to utilize it.
Yeah, we need to assign.
Yeah, so I think that's like a conversation we can have at a later date and.
so there probably should be a school contact on there.
Yes.
There is on the back, at the very end, like, under the school as the secondary alternate site. The phone number there, and then.
I mean, it should almost reference like CMOU because that in it has the contacts. And like in order of who to reach out to, who we're gonna access the school shelter.
What is a CMOU?
So that's what Linda has, that you guys haven't adopted it yet. It's the method of operations or understanding. So
I think it's like that, it's.
well, you have Dennis, I mean, the thing is you have Dennis Hill and the number that you have for the shelter is the phone number to this. So that's not gonna help us to call that number in an actual emergency. I think, Joe Houston, that first point of contact, because he's their facilities director for the district. His information is on that agreement of understanding that they provided to utilize the school.
Could be Joe Houston.
Yeah. I mean, Dennis is your principal. It's good for
He
them.
lives far away and we won't probably. see
Joe just lives at Craftsbury and they can help a lot of us remotely with the school. They're gonna provide key cards so we can access it when we need to. But if there were other issues like just turning the heat up, like we can reach out to them and they can do it remotely from their phone. But I would, under that staff requirements, I would say minimum of one on that alternate location. On page 6, where you were looking at your You had your shelter located listed.
Oh, okay.
Staff requirements, I would just say. One. You know, I have to talk to them about pets allowed. I mean, because that's a legitimate thing.
Allowed them here, did you?
It's allowed down here. I think it's just one of the things we'll have to go back to them on. Linda. On page 8, that's not my phone number. I'm sure what that number is. On the, okay, so
The primary.
for Jim's primary, we'll need to update that as well, or just strike it out.
Right.
Okay, just leave that.
You want my phone number?
Yes.
So 802
Uh-huh.
917 3352.
And Jim?
That's the, yeah, Jim's primary just needs to be deleted.
Okay, and then we'll go over the that secondary.
Probably get on the big.
So Steve's isn't,
One's in with one.
the Steve's isn't right on the second.
On page 9, or is that on what page?
Page A, under local response organization contracts.
I just pulled it from another form.
Yeah, so his number is up above, is right, the 995. But not
Jim's
down there.
rescue's phone number.
Yeah, I changed it to on page 9,
Yeah.
but it is correct up above.
Yeah,
In your public works, have we gotten rid of that number? The 3253, is that number gone now?
no,
So EMS chief, we can add. You said Lindsay
Lindsay Osteen.
Holstein.
Osteen.
What page are we on?
We're still on page 8, doing the phone numbers.
All right. Oh, I see, okay. Lindsay,
Lindsay Holstein.
O apostrophe SCEIN.
I believe so.
Are you looking up the phone number for her? Question?
Yeah, I'm trying to find.
Alright, so we're gonna give you the number for Hardwick Rescue because that's who that is.
Should I note Hardwick Rescue somewhere?
Yeah, if you want to. Eight two seven zero.
603 is the area code.
Yeah, 542.
No. Or this is, look at this with the New Hampshire site. There. Hang on.
EMS Village is out of here, not Main Street. Yes. Over the Memorial or Washington.
You scroll further down. There we go. Okay, 802 472 6343.
And is there anything else?
Info at Hardwick Rescue.
Rescue.org.
Yes.
it's like you can't get them.
Did you see the police or constable? Because we really don't have one, so delete that.
You guys have a little commissioners?
No.
And two, or is it just?
No. We don't have to have one.
Okay, that's, okay. Drinking water utility, I mean, your only utility is right here for this group, isn't it? You have a designation on that?
No, we're in the process of, doing a new policy on it, but we don't have a designee, it would be decided.
You guys manage this water system? Yeah, under school contact, that's where I would add Joe Houston. In,
Houston, yeah, do you have a number?
yeah, 802-760. Yeah, I'll give you two numbers, 760-7647.
That'll be his primary and then an alternate.
Yep. And 802-472-2934. You want to email? Joe Houston at ossu.org.
And that's HOUSTON.
Yep.
And I'm sorry, what?
At ossu.org.
We need to school district office.
Eight oh two 726531.
You want Elliot Waring's number in there, school contact too?
We could just school board rep. Like that could be. Just down below, if you put school board,
Not a school contact.
yeah, I would just add that as an extra item, just. School board chair.
Does anyone have his personal phone number?
Who's,
Elliot?
I do not.
I do. 802 585-5134.
It's stuck in there, it's health officer. Steve.
We're still not done.
We need participation from the appointment, or can we just vote him in?
We'll see you like.
Nine. Under.
Oh, I see.
Treasurer and all that.
His last name spelled like correctly.
Who's this?
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. I'm sorry. It's
Well, the fire report, that needs to be changed. anyways.
Right.
Yeah, Kirk, no, it's this.
It should be right at the top.
Yeah.
It's not utilized, hard, is it? Online only.
No, we don't.
Yeah, we did not name, I think you said we were gonna name them laser, but the facility contact, the shelter manager, staff requirements for the primary shelter, so staff requirements are 0 or 1 for primary local health.
What What are your feelings here? It probably wouldn't hurt to say minimum of one, and then that way we kind of operate the same way, no matter which shelter we're using, we always have one person here. And I think it just makes sense, just we'll say minimum of one, and that way. We're just, doesn't matter where we're going, we're just doing it the same way. And it'd be good to have that kind of point of contact here anyways.
Facility contact, would that be Belinda, since she's easiest to get here, or? I mean, there's not being
Depends if for flood, bridge floods. you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
It's not always easiest. To be named, I guess, I don't know, I think it's,
What's the intent of it?
I mean, if it's in the day, she is here probably working, but.
She had said to put her down, I asked if I should put her down on another one. We have another form that we have to submit, let me pull it up. It's the it's the municipal adoption form. And I put her down as the point of contact too, because you were the town clerk before and you were listed. So I put Belinda down and she said, yeah, I have the key, I have it. So I don't know if we list her as the point of contact now and then amend it.
But who's gonna contact her?
This is shelter management, the facility contact.
I mean, I think the point of the facility contact is like, if we're gonna open it up, we're letting that person know that we're opening it up. Do we need to let Belinda know, or do we need to let select board know? I mean, you guys are ultimately in charge of the building, correct? So it makes sense to be someone on the select board, or we just say select board in that area, so whoever we can get a hold of, we're just notifying them, because it's really, that's what the functionality of it is. It's not so much really the town clerk side of things. I mean, granted, she's got a key. I mean, we have spare key as well, so we're able to open it up as an emergency center. And so I think maybe just select board that way. Select board's the ones in the loop about opening the shelter. If we're just looking at it from this lens.
And shelter manager is,
Yeah, you can probably have this one.
so the EMP.
Yeah.
It did have a line that says, I'm on page under organizations and communities require additional coordination. And structures in the flood hazard area as the town garage and fire department, but I thought about maybe that doesn't sound right, but it could potentially be important structures in a flooding area. I don't know.
What page is it on?
It's on page 5. It's the bottom one. It's not in color, it's kind of gray.
Well, I mean, it's the truth.
Right, but then I don't know if it looks bad that those are also our
Well,
organizations.
maybe they'll give us, well, our emergency shelter is the town office, not the garage and fire department. I mean, maybe they'll see that and give us some money for new garage. I don't get it.
Any others, I had this highlighted, are there any other organizations or communities requiring additional coordination? I added Wildcat busing because it seems like we need to call.
Yep. Unfortunately, you don't have a lot of things right in this area that are going to be impacted as far as like. Yeah, I don't know if you would need to put like the Methodist Church on there. And that's an organization that's in that area. Doesn't really get the post office.
What office?
the post office.
Oh, that's good.
The church basically is just a basement.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
I mean,
not the main floor.
what do you think about that here?
Well,
Involved.
you're calling, community, I mean,
It's not like it's occupied throughout the day for things necessarily. It's Sunday, if we have emergency on Sunday. Um, Yeah.
we have a thing in the basement, if it floods, it sends a message to your phone for our insurance.
Yeah.
Or if the power goes out.
I don't think we appointed a call taker.
Well, I think that would just be as assigned, like. It would kind of depend on what we have for some resources. I mean, and honestly, I mean, I've played that role in the past when we've had stuff going on because I'm just sitting here, kind of tracking things. Entering the homes. That's why we talked about, the fire station because they were seeing a fair amount of calls. But in the meantime, what we might just be able to do is get that number during an emergency. Push it to this phone. And that doesn't matter if I'm active right here.
It's not dispatch, no.
Yeah. So, I think we can.
Michaela had notes, she just did say under the alternate EOC location, she said, consider adding notes about things, like how to add access to the facility, if permission needs to be granted from a certain person. By law. That's the school. You're not saying that, these are the notes that she added to the Word document that I sent her to.
So I would, I mean, that's,
Any passcodes like Wi-Fi unlocks.
I mean, we have all that stuff accomplished. Once we enter into the agreement with the school, we'll have access to all that stuff. As a part of using it as our shelter.
And then. Right.
Where would you add that information on page 7?
Add it just under, you can extend these boxes.
I would, when we talk about annexes, I would just. So be an annex for the shelter at the school, and that would be its own document that we could have to have all that information on.
About, I think Ryan, you have to sign a form. There's a. This is what the municipal adoption form. And she suggested that we drop the NIMS. She said that they had actually greatly reduced the NIMS sheet down into like 6 categories, which I think is what you have there. And she said drop it because actually you don't have it when it went out in first copy.
Yeah.
She couldn't have was applied. But I think we still have to decide. So I'm gonna add, there's an REMC Emergency Services appointee. Do we have any REMC representatives? REMC, which is probably doesn't really define it. And then there's the EMD for the REMC representatives. It's a regional, maybe?
Maybe.
Regional. Do we attend any regional?
Will I attend the regional?
Yeah.
Do you want me to add you as the EMD for the REMC.
Sure.
I'm just gonna get this done so that you can sign tonight. Um, And then for point of contact 3, I didn't know if you wanted me to add either Steve Prince or Jim. We have 3 points of contact. You have the EMD, which is Ryan. We have the second point of contact, which I put as Belinda. And then there's a third. And I don't know who you guys wanted to name.
Point of contact for an emergency or for the shop, for the, what do you guys, what's the point of contact?
This is the local emergency management plan municipal adoption form. It's not really, it's just a form that you all have filled out in the past. I'll show you.
I guess I would have Linda as a second point of contact, carry forward. Right, Steve's the assistant, so.
It's different from this form, but this is the form that we filled out in the past. So it's asking a few more questions now.
Point of contact 2 on here is already Linda. And Jeff.
So we want to get rid of Belinda and add Linda.
I mean, this is fine, right? This is the 2022 one, so.
Yeah, so that was what.
Well, it's because they had Linda as a town clerk at that point. I think it makes sense to keep it relevant to the select board because they're kind of ultimately in charge of. How do you guys feel? You feel okay about that or? So yeah, keep it as part of
I feel like in the past, I haven't known what's going on. You kind of are overseeing the town.
right, it's not so much the town clerk.
And then it's like, who was the?
Number 3 would be Jim.
Let me just take the time to get a few phone numbers from Evan. And then go print this if you'd like. It'll take me a second, but
We can start talking about the memorandum of understanding if you didn't have any other questions.
good. Yes.
I emailed you a copy of the memorandum of understanding that the Governor Houston put together for using the school as the emergency shelter. Brian and I had met with him before he put this out. Is this similar to what Hardwick has? Is that what you said?
Yeah, yep.
Um. and No, if anyone had, questions, things they'd like to add, I know we just brought up the idea of animals. I don't know how the school feels about that. I know some people won't leave without them.
Just give me back through and see if it talks about it.
I mean, if you were to, able to keep them in their vehicle. Because I worked at a couple places, someone would bring their pet in during the weekend and it would mess throughout the facility, which is quite a headache.
I wonder if we put out there and ask for like a couple of folding kennels you could have stored. So that way at least.
I have one kennel, but it wouldn't take a very big dog.
No, that's fine. I'm just thinking like, as we plan ahead, like if we say, if we let the school know kind of as our offering around it, like we'll try to make sure that we have a couple of kennels available. So if people did bring animals in, that we can keep them confined. Because I agree, I don't want them running around, ruining the floor and.
When we evacuated the store. In the fire truck, we had a bird, we had 2 cats, and like 3 dogs.
Yeah.
And what did you do with them?
They came with the people,
Where, here?
yeah. So. It's kind of like going to work.
Mayor thoughts.
Yeah.
I would have been tasty.
I don't know if they would have left if they didn't have brought their pet.
That's why I don't think so, and I don't think I was either. If I couldn't bring my child. with me.
It's pretty difficult if they don't have a vehicle. I mean, if you got a vehicle, you can put a dog in it, and a cat.
I guess that's, first, I think we need to have a conversation to see if they would even consider it with, Canada.
Yeah.
If it was that bad, I don't know about having them come down here with animals. It's a zoo here already.
This is fun. So,
Decided we are, we're keeping no animals instead of the shelter. Right now.
We're going to have a conversation, we don't even know if they'll allow. I think we need to make some kind of provision for people with animals. Whether it's down here. And they don't have all the amenities of up there, but
I mean, if you guys are willing to just say for now, like until we can still, you can still move along with that, knowing that this is just our alternate place for people with animals.
Have animals, that we accept animals in the primary.
Right. Did you check to make sure your guys' insurance covered their requirements? The schools, the MOU, the insurance risk.
no. That's something we should do, Michelle.
Is there a list of requirements on the
Yeah,
MOU?
yeah.
Okay.
General liability insurance policy with combined single limit coverage of at least $1 million and per occurrence. And $2 million in the aggregate.
I'll leave you this copy if you want, or I'll send you. So what's the board's feeling about moving our primary emergency shelter up to the floor? We haven't even had that. So.
Now, it's large. It's at higher ground.
More parking,
Yeah.
larger parking.
And if you are gonna have a base of operations down here, you also aren't dealing with the public at the same time as ordinance. I'm not sure how much interference that really does weigh, but if you are, you're busy. Yeah, I'm in favor of seeing them be the primary shelter and this be the operation space.
You know, at the worst, the area will get ground high enough so that as long as they could come in from Hardwick, they could bring in supplies, services.
The problem is right by Bishop Bridge, Dallas Floods.
Yeah.
Never get through.
But they've got a great big athletic field that they can land a helicopter on. We're talking end of days stuff you can still get.
I don't think.
You're gonna struggle to land a chopper down here. I mean, and honestly, feedback that I've seen from the public on different sites, like they question why this is a shelter because it sits in the floodplain and. You know, just even though it hasn't really ever been impacted by it, but that's just kind of perception wise. They're like, how come we don't go to the highest point in town as a nice big building? So, I mean, the biggest hang up in the past has just been the lack of generator. Now that's there, it's functioning.
Right.
They can run the entire building on it and
The only problem with the fire station. Fires, there's no generator. So if you lose power over there, and you have that as an answer, and you're pretty much done.
Okay, so we will check on the insurance and we will check on the animals. And I guess we will vote on it if everything comes out okay.
as we try to set up a meeting to actually kind of discuss like maybe past events and how things have gone and how we would like to see things, you know, kind of move in the future. Who wants to be a part of that conversation?
I'd like to be part of it.
You just can't have three of you there, right? Because then it becomes a meeting or it's
It's not a select board meeting, so.
not
it
like
doesn't-
we're meeting as a fine.
Right.
So you guys can all throw it if you wanted to and be not getting into any issues.
No. No, but it's not too far to warn it. As you can see, nobody, I know it is the school board meeting.
Okay.
But
And even if it's something just like later in the day, doesn't have to be at night, it's unless whatever works for you guys, but
we
it's
can
thinking like.
still warn it. I mean, we have special meetings all the time.
Okay.
If everyone wants to participate, that's not a problem at all.
So it'd be nice to get Dylan here. Yeah. Time when Steve's available as well. Yeah, just to kind of talk through, you know, the floods are kind of the big ones, but you know, we also have other issues that come up, so.
Rand, we're gonna talk about having is that for future flood management?
I think it's just for future emergency management, just like flooding tends to be our big one right now and, you know. Or ice storms or, you know, or significant power outages, but like to be able just to have everyone kind of around the table at the same time to actually have a conversation. Because we tend to have them.
Communication, yeah.
Yeah,
Better communication is, it's not that I need to sit here, but I'd like to know what's going on.
well, and I think it's important for us to all know, like, too, like,
Yeah.
this is who we're contacting, even though it's written out in here, but like, here's the actual mechanisms around it, like, this is who we're contacting and when and why. And these are the responsibilities of those people, so like, you know, if we shoot an email out to the members of the select board or Belinda, like, because that's who I've used in the past to try to get stuff put on front porch forum. Like, is that the best means, or do we need to somehow, streamline it in any way, or how do we access the text messaging piece that people are utilizing now? So just kind of bringing those pieces together. And make sure that we just kind of understand each other's, expectations around it. I mean, things I think have gone reasonably well during events, like fire department's seasoned and they know what they're doing, and just, that communication is at least very, very, localized is occurring, and trying to make sure we're including everyone that needs to. It's been, some of the feedback that we need to really work on. So.
When's it best for you to be?
I mean, any early evening.
Early evening?
Yeah.
6 o'clock,
Yeah. So,
5-ish.
yeah, 6 is fine.
Is it better? Are there any nights that are better? Any nights that are better, please?
I don't have much of a life outside of work, so.
You should be health office for that.
Breakthrough. You make sure you leave that out there, right? Yeah, no, I mean, you guys are Wednesday, so that wouldn't be it. I don't know what other nights are free for, so. I can be flexible.
Is this something you want to happen very soon?
Maybe like. If we plan for the beginning of May. That'll give me a chance to. Find the binder, and I mean, you guys talk about this other document that references the other organizations or like resources that you have, but it's not necessarily attached to what.
She added that. It's an old document, and
Okay.
that's who
So, like,
Miss Moody added.
It's something that we need to talk about, just updating and making sure that people still have agreements with them. Those are agreements that need to be updated each year.
I do have the 17 at the ready contract.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Oh, no, that's friend, yeah.
Okay.
So those are just contractors to do road work.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so they've all given their pricing and their qualifications, and so they've been pre-approved so that we can call them any of them now without having to get the full board together.
Yeah. But are we keeping that in a centralized spot, like with the emergency plan? I guess.
I have it with the road foreman, but I could put it with the plan.
So that would be, that's why we've had a binder in the past. We kind of kept everything in one spot, as old school as a binder is, but because unless you're
Steve must have it, because I don't recall ever seeing.
I'm sure I gave it to him at some point. I just wasn't sure if it was being kept here.
Here's one thing I'd like to bring up. It has on page 8, local response organizations. Would it be possible to add Johnson Water Rescue? And try to get hold of them and see, I mean, you've had to try to do it, Jim.
You're in the rescues? Yeah, they told me that nobody was available. They couldn't make it out of Johnson.
So I think that's where we start looking at like what are our kind of vulnerabilities, and this is for that other meeting. But like talking about that, because that was a reality, like Johnson Water Rescue wasn't going to come do water rescues here because they couldn't get here unless they're going to come by boat, and they were too busy doing other
They
things.
had
So
50 rescues of their own.
Right. So I think it's a matter of like, that's a vulnerability for here. And I know, so how do we look at, increasing training for the fire department so that they're, in a good position to do it safely and not, jeopardize their own people at the same time. So like, those are just conversations to be had as we kind of move this forward. Like, we had some really good examples of some pretty significant events, so we can work off of those.
I mean, we used to, when I was on the department, we used to train with them at least once a year.
We start building our wish list of, things that we think we need for town as well.
I mean, I have a 12-foot. I don't know what you want to call it for a boat, but it's a deep rowboat.
Voted again? Not good. Ryan, do you have a key to the school?
In school, once we sign the agreement, they're gonna give us a couple of key cards.
So yeah, that's something I get to know, of course. I can always launch it.
I mean, the goal is to get everyone in a good position, so we're not increasing liability at the same time. Right. You know, doing stuff, so.
Thank you very much for coming and working with us through this, to get organized. Maybe Michelle can send out a few options for dates and people can pick them and decide whether they want to come and they can make it or not. More than 3 people. If more than 2 people come, then we just want it.
I will include, as you said, what we would like the fire chief, the EMC, the EMD, Capric, Dylan, and
Steve.
but yeah, he's the EMC.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good starting point anyway.
There be any reason to include V-Trans, direct from V-Trans?
I think in the subsequent conversation, yes. I mean, 'cause I think that's part of must be part of your town plan is looking forward on projects and vulnerabilities and that perspective as well, so.
But 9 times out of 10, they can't make it. Once it floods down by river, they're done.
Yes.
Riverside.
No, and I think that's where we look at how do we function, and say as an island? Just because that's really what we get turned into. So, what do we need to be able to be successful in that situation, knowing that it'll be at least a day for things to recede before you get help with the people. So
And what back roads are actually back ways to get here or there.
that changes depending upon the storm, because what might work one week, it doesn't work another. So
Depends on washouts.
yeah. And that was challenge. So we can kind of, I think it would be good to do like an after action review of one of the floods and say, this is what we actually experienced, and kind of build out from there.
Like 2023?
Yep.
Which was the worst one?
Yep. It's worst case scenario.
I think what was interesting is if North Wolcott actually gets cut off from Wolcott, which it usually does, where the heck could those people plan to meet and set up a?
Richard's house.
Let me know and I'll move to Orlando and go to college.
That's a target scenario.
Well, so high, maybe top of Maury Hill or something.
There's no real big structures.
Right.
Unless they go towards Craftsbury.
That's if you can get over that.
That's if you can get there.
The old church, that's the house.
You're all those bottomland roads going from highway into Craftsbury, they're all gone.
Yeah.
Oh, probably Nelson's Barn then. Like, isn't that the biggest one up there? The automotive place? The bottom of Sand Hill? Steiner's. Oh, sorry. I said it wrong.
Yeah, good luck getting there.
Yeah,
Yes.
real good luck.
Need a rowboat getting
So
like
you're gonna have
that.
some water get really close right there.
Yes.
No, he is on the culvert.
That's true
It
too.
usually takes the road before it takes.
So I think it's a really good point, though. That's good. I think
We should start thinking about that.
Especially if that road where that slide is happening ever does go in.
Not ever go.
Backs up North Wolcott.
Did the town end up taking over that house that's hanging over the water, or what's the
We're
status
in
of
the
that?
process of buying it.
April 29th.
You're taking the school vote.
That's gonna get removed.
No, we'll own it. The closing.
And that's gonna get removed.
Yeah, we know it.
Asbestos and lead testing and.
They gotta go on the houses and they go with the river to do all this.
What's the status on the Westover house? Has the asbestos been taken out of?
Yeah,
Vermiculite.
well, accordingly, it's not asbestos.
Well, could or couldn't have it. Maybe not.
Is it available for training?
No,
No, it's going to for demolition. It's already been awarded.
Okay.
When is that happening?
I hope so, but
So they'll do the Gibbs house and then they'll do that.
His house has been hanging in there.
Well, is Larry started or is he waiting for the permits?
Wait for the weather.
I'm surprised it hasn't floated away. That's the biggest.
Well, at least the mailbox is gone.
Oh, that was a question I had for you. When those properties are finally like cleaned up and done, I know you can't put any more structures on them. Can they be parking?
you can't put any, what's it called? Impervious.
You can
You
have.
can't put any markings or anything if they just parked on the
Well, you
grass.
can't put asphalt or build up any gravel.
Yeah.
But you can use them for parking, trails,
In theory,
parks,
Unimproved parking is what they call that.
yes.
have gravel, but only go certain depth.
You can't just change, you can't change the height, but as long as you maintain the height that's existing.
Right.
If you're in a floodplain and you wanna raise it, you've gotta have a 1-to-1 ratio, so if you raise it a foot here and you have so many cubic yards elevated here, you gotta drop it. Yeah, so it's not impossible.
But it's not advised.
No. No, and they're never eligible.
Which
for
place were you
insurance money.
thinking?
Just where like the yellow house is gives, if that, just because if you guys get the ball field back to use at any point, like the parking that's there is so small right now.
Yeah,
Be able to have parking across the street, so they're not in the road.
I'm putting an orchard already.
You're putting an orchard in.
Why? Do you need apples?
That's my new dream.
Plenty of deer over there.
Yeah.
No, I think, I think you could use parking.
Just to get people off that road,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, we don't, put parking, we don't want squatters.
Right.
We've had squatters lately in town.
You guys put some decorative apple trees around.
On Town Hill. Somebody's lot didn't give him permission. That happens in this town. He was not happy.
I've done, and I was, how you build these buildings, you know. And
You could be the health officer. You got many hats now, dude.
But somebody told me.
We are through the list, the
Yeah, we're
identified.
waiting for, do you want to move up, to the transfer station contract while you're here?
Yeah.
If the board doesn't.
Friendly meeting.
I thought people were calming down. No,
Neil was there. Neil. Wait, sorry.
no,
Yeah, McNulty or whatever his name is.
Oh my God. Did they have a good turnout?
Not as many as last time. We had more by Zoom, but, a lot of questions about school choice and about what's happening and if this is gonna happen again next year. Or if this doesn't pass, all those questions. And then the layout notices have gone out. That was brought up.
well, they always have to go out, don't they?
Yeah.
That's what they hung over our heads last time.
That what schools do every year is they always have their list of people first, they go and let off. They don't need and then they go second one.
But Elliot announced at the beginning that OSSU would not be discussed.
But not,
OSSU budget would not be discussed.
no, we've read that.
You're right.
You guys.
Thank you very much.
So as you know, at the transfer station, we are going to have a change. Dana Sweet Trucking is retiring. They are selling their roll-offs that we have up there to Casella. And so our new person, because the contract went out, I thought we'd follow the solid waste district and see The one bid that they chose was Casella. And it's, based on 5-year contract. And it was apparently the best contract or best bid they got. And it was based on, we used to pay a 1 cent hauling fee. That's not how Casella bid it. For, Worcester, solid waste will pay about $560 a haul.
It has to do with distance.
Distance and mileage and time and stuff. Morrisville, like over by the mobile home park or whatever in Morrisville, that's about 220. Ours, they're estimating about 400 a haul per dumpster. We were paying 196. But after they get a feel for it and figure out time and mileage for us, they might lower us to 385 or 390.
They might also bump us to 4.25.
No, she said it wouldn't be any higher than 400. Because that's one of the ones they have with solid waste district. So I talked to Joyce and Joyce said, well, what else are we gonna do? Because nobody else. I've talked to Carlisle Metals, no response from Rob. I called, what is it called? The small operation. Anyhow,
Hills,
no, not Hills.
Myers.
Myers isn't doing, unless they do big things and they don't do recycling on an average, is what I was told. And the other one, you know, it's got something, Dog Hill, something, I can't remember what it is, dog something. I'll have to ask Joyce. I called them, they only have open dumpsters, they have no closed dumpsters, so that wasn't gonna work with us.
The dumpster rate is good. Do we only get that rate because we're having them pick up?
Because we got the same dumpsters, they bought them from Dana Sweet, apparently at a good price, and so they're just gonna keep it at 150. She said, if we need bigger ones,
Dana?
what?
Could we have bought Dana?
10,000 apiece. I don't think so.
That's a good price.
Covered ones are more expensive. The bulk one was gonna be cheaper, but, you know. We really need the covered ones for our garbage and recycling. So I'm gonna be very, very overseeing, just to let you know. Every Sunday afternoon, I'm gonna be there at 1 to see if we can make it last another week. It's double the price on hauling, it's huge. And right before May 4th. May 3rd, sorry, Reno Day. And Joyce said, do you want to get another dumpster from Casella? And I was like, no, because that's another $400 I gotta do to dump it. So I'm gonna try to get green up in the bulk.
Even if it takes a couple of bulk trips to make it happen. Send somebody up there with a town excavator and just thumb it off the ground into the dumpster.
And Linda would like, and so Michelle's here, so I'm wondering if she could convey to the road crew that after Casella pulls out this next time, we need to clean in there because there's a lot of stuff underneath there. And I think it's going to be like a loader. I don't know if that's-
There, they can put all the gravel back that's in the field on the
Road. It's a little slick on that road on the weekends.
It's not the road, but the, you know, the top part.
We're going to deposit the trash in the hole. Then it's gonna have a lot of dirt with it in it.
That's fine. I don't think they mind dirt.
It's gonna be heavy as hell.
That's
Or
always,
just put it in a pile. I usually go up and clean for green up. But I can't clean underneath dumpsters.
I remember when Todd showed lost his wallet down there in between.
oh, that
We had to, yeah, that was, yes.
Yeah.
And we had to have Dana, Matt move it for us.
found everything. If anybody can get down there, and got my ID and my money, good luck, well.
Todd showed us his phone, that's right.
I got this.
When he was, what was it? Attorney General, no, the one in
I
High.
will not convey the language I use when that happens.
So,
But there's no alternative.
So I think that we need to monitor this closely. And see, you know, we might be needing to raise our rates.
That's
I assume that the solid waste district will probably,
So Julie says her board is looking at it.
so we'll let it go for now, but, I don't wanna hear that we're broke. I'd rather hear that we're half broke.
Oh, no, we're.
almost on I know, but I don't want it all gone
Right,
by the time we have to make that decision.
correct. Oh, no, I will give you monthly statements on this, so we know what we're doing. I don't wanna go into the reserves either. And the guys are finally.
So we know how many bags come in.
You know how many bags?
We do.
Yes.
We know how many bags come in and how much we're charging for them, and we have to figure out whether it's covering the cost of
A haul. And she got the haul, 400, plus you got whatever's in there that they're charging this for. So I'm gonna.
got the district surcharge.
Right.
But all those things should be about the same as they were before, Dana. The only thing that we really need to look at as far as whether or not we can afford it. What do we spend annually on the hall? Double that number. So that's effectively what we've done here.
So my budget is blown before we even started it for July. Because we didn't know. We didn't know until April.
Well, that budget is not approved by the that's not an approved.
I know, but we put it in there. I think.
But they can be adjusted.
Yeah. Well, I just
The
can't put it anywhere else.
planning commission adjusts their budget every quarter. My grants and stuff that comes in.
And you know, this is not the time, but we were just talking about budget. So Deanna and I were looking over the budget. We usually, under service agencies, have amount for the Lamoille County Planning Commission. It's not in there,
Anywhere,
in the budget.
the one we just voted on.
Yeah, the one we voted on the town meeting.
Pretty sure it's in that.
I didn't find it.
I'm pretty sure it's in that.
Okay, you find it for me.
I'm gonna be your salary.
So that's get you on,
Yeah, well,
That could be a good deal.
because they help us.
we have to find it. It's not in the 24.
No, it's in the old one. It's not in the new one. At least it's not under service agencies. That was my other word.
Yeah, they're there.
Yeah.
Lamoille County Planning Commission. $1,274.28.
Oh, she's really.
She can't read.
Apparently not. I got two lines and nothing.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
I had to entertain you.
And we have, nothing from Kurt probably. He's pretty much done. Michelle. Kurt is pretty,
Yeah, okay, I think so. I haven't heard anything.
so he's pretty much done. He's just, they've moved, the Vermont office to FEMA in Boston, and he's just waiting for the new assigned person to help us finish out.
Is it Corey, the same as yours?
No,
You know, you saw the email today that they sent out.
yes. We can't really close out it. It's nothing more for him to do, and we have until June 1st to get the ball field done.
Yeah. That's the one thing that we don't know.
And then we can't close out anything until that's done. Take your report.
So the town did not receive the Better Connections Design Grant. It was the grant to design the connectivity of the trails and the village. And so we had allocated $7,500 and Linda, where is that to be returned to?
I haven't figured all that out. I'm gonna make a little spreadsheet for the board. And, my thought was, you know, at the end of the year, we where did it come from? We didn't decide, find out where it came from, so, I don't know.
I don't know that we had ever made a decision. I think that we were going to apply.
Then find it later.
If it was awarded, we were gonna try and find it.
Yeah.
That's.
So, there's nothing to. do.
Um, So just as an update, we don't need a vote or anything. The emergency 911 signs, we've got our contractor, our maintenance contracted person is going to do them for $13 a sign. We have approximately 740 signs, so it's roughly 10,000, a little over 10,000. We do have to do dig safe tickets. I'll start working on those. It's gonna be like 4,000 from this year's budget and 6,000 from the next year's maintenance budget, which is 20,000. So it gives us 14,000 to work with. I will ask the contractor if he had mentioned that he would like to get the work done now and just pay him the rest of the money in the new fiscal year, so. The FEMA debris removal for Elmore Pond Road has been obligated, so that's the 17,000. We get 75% from FEMA, which is about 12,000, almost 13. And then now we don't know if we're going to receive, because our status, our rating with the state was dropped because the emergency plan was not filed last year. And so it's dropped from 15% to 7.5%, I believe it was cut by half. Possibly. And I don't know if the chances are, if we get this year's plan in, is there any hope that we can change that ranking?
I haven't had any direct contact with anybody, so I don't know.
So the state fund, the state match could drop between, it would either be $300 from the state at 7% or $640 at 15%. And again, our out-of-pocket expenses for contractors and materials is costing us $11,226. So at best, we will recoup what we put out of pocket a little bit more. The other two projects, so FEMA just notified us today that they are minimizing a lot of these project managers at Fort and Parker. And they have until, I've forgotten the date, May, June. I've forgotten the date. Until May or June to finish all of this before those guys go away. So we'll be in good shape, except for maybe the category Z, but we're gonna try to get that done as well for FEMA 24, I'm sorry. We do have 5 projects that have not been completed. It's our work to be completed project. So how long that takes to pass through the scope of work, they identify, FEMA identifies the scope of work for the culverts. I did the scope of work for Keeler Pond resurfacing and for Flatiron. So those have to move through. We're just trying to get those finalized, as well as the work that has been completed. So I hope to have those, Corinne, I hope to have those done in the next 2 weeks. We had an issue with a squatter on the Town Hill Road property. We notified the owner, who is an out-of-state owner, resident, that the person is there. He said that they did not have permission to be there. And there were, in addition, there were there are two campers there and a vehicle, a truck with a camper shell. They're only allowed to have one camper on the property, a single dwelling unit, otherwise they would be taxed. I notified the property owner about all of this. He said that the person should go with the truck and the camper, start getting in touch with him. They do know him, but he does not have permission to be there. And what he was doing is they were dumping, there were two pipes going into the septic, and the neighbors notified us. And then the owner is getting rid of the other camper. So
Yeah, it was just a neighbor stored it there.
yeah. But it was supposed to be gone by December. So he's taking care of both of those issues. I put on your desks this sheet of paper like this. These are all of the traffic studies that have been done in Wolcott. It's just a list of them, but it doesn't actually show the results, but I can get the results. But anyway, the LCPC wanted to know if we would request any traffic studies. They do this every year. We did have North Wolcott Road done in 2023 in 3 sections. But I don't know if there's any roads you all want done or to request. Seems like it's a single request because you have to list the purpose of studies. And then they want to know, is it for to understand the volume of traffic, the classification of the vehicle, the speed of the vehicle, or turning movement? And I don't know if I can submit more than one, but if the board would like me to pull one together for a specific road you have in mind, I asked Dylan, I have not yet heard from him.
Just an idea, I've been thinking about it since I noticed the sheet here. We've got a lot of changes happening along School Street. I wonder if maybe having this road studied, we've done the walk on it, we're losing some houses, we're gaining some forest, we're doing a bunch of things around here. And I don't see that listed on this sheet. I wonder.
That's actually a good idea,
This and Flatiron.
because this is gonna be closed, and then they're gonna be coming Flatiron. Maybe it'd be good to know how many people are gonna go Flatiron that go School Street right now.
Yeah, I forgot we're gonna keep this road closed, but yeah, curious if it gives us a baseline, if that's gonna help us try and determine. Future plans as far as the forest and things go, because as I understand, there isn't a parking plan for forest users.
No, there is,
There is, okay, I just didn't see.
but it doesn't look very big to me. There's one, they're gonna have one across from Toots Douglas, where you go up the trail that goes up to the school, but it'll also be where the sewer line goes up. And the other one will be a little one over by the bridge. And I really think they're gonna need to one over there.
To do something.
Yeah,
If the rail trail is as big as we
Yeah.
would like it to be. And pickleball keeps picking up.
Getting older.
Yeah, that was that, and I see a lot of North Wolcott Road, but I don't see very many of the back roads in North Wolcott listed. Maury Hill, Brook Road, Baldwin Brook, Sand Hill, West Hill. I don't see
It will be interesting how many cars are trying to go to Hyde Park the back way.
So just, if we're trying to expand the data that we have, I don't see a whole lot of information.
You got one in mind, are you saying Morrieville? Is that what you said, Ellen?
That would be one of the main routes to get through Morrisville if you're in. Yeah, Maury Hill is fine. I'm curious about Sand Hill, but I'm also biased.
Going up or going down?
Yeah.
Then you have to have a purpose of
So you
study.
can go through Zach Woods to get that, and that's how, if the road is good, if there's an emergency. That used to be one of the ways to get out. You can get to Morrisville if you go through Zach Woods.
It's a
Down
lot of-
Garfield Road.
Yeah.
I think there's some people out there spotting too. They did have
There
a,
always is.
they had a tent city out there.
But the. I don't know.
So
Michigan, whatever.
Moreno would be as a detour, serves the purpose of a detour.
It would be actually Sand Hill, West Hill,
Overall. Okay. Or,
or you could go, yeah, go across them all. And go.
But not more.
You'd have to go up more to get the bottom road.
And this is not, this is a detour to get to Morrisville or a detour to get around North Wolcott Road?
Detour,
Morrisville.
you're to get to Morrisville, because when it floods, it's the only way you're getting to Morrisville down that way.
Well, it's never flooded at the bottom of, North Wolcott Road. See, it's also going around the west end.
But if you get,
Avoiding the North Wolcott Road.
if you get a decent flood, once it floods down by the used auto place, you can't go down that way.
Oh, Mark's.
Riverside.
talking about.
Yeah.
Riverside,
Okay,
you don't.
I was thinking in the Wolcott side.
But if you came up North Wolcott Road, you could, there are plenty, you could go up, Wild Ranch or.
The other road further up there in Craftsbury, that bridge always, that other bridge across that goes and hooks onto it, that always gets flooded.
Yeah, that's Post Road and on Cemetery Road, but you're not crossing that, you wouldn't be going. Yeah, but it's,
It was bypass.
that,
That always gets closed.
really?
They always close that when it floods, because that gets,
Water roads on both sides.
I can never get over it.
I usually get to Morrisville, the hard part's trying to go around the back way around her.
Yeah,
Yeah, I could never get to Greensboro or Craftsbury in 23 or 24.
You go to East Craftsbury, then you can.
I couldn't get to East Craftsbury.
You couldn't.
No, I live up on the Eden side, and so I couldn't go down Post Road, Cemetery Road. I went up to North Wolcott, North Craftsbury Road. So they were all closed. I couldn't go down to 15. Like,
There was, I think it's called Gibby Road or something. It was all washed out one side. That was the only way you could get all the way up. I can get to go like Albany.
Yeah.
It was bad. That's how I had to get to my kid.
So yeah, I'll see if I can put in more than one, otherwise I'll do School Street.
okay.
I need the select board to sign the 64 School Street demolition contract that we awarded to LG Furno Forest Products for $33,091.16. That been signed. Thanks. Finally, an update on the highway. Phil and I met, we made a plan because we don't have the money to buy culverts right now. He is assessing the culverts that, we had a list of, I think 18 or 20, and we've got it down to the bare minimum for this next year. I think it's a list of maybe 7 or 8 and priced out culverts for different sizes and gray versus black. And then we'll make the determination, see what we have the money to put in for this year. But in the meantime, the planning for April through June 30th has been slated for only fuel and labor costing projects. they'll be picking up green up day bags, they'll be washing the bridges. They're gonna reset signs, they'll be cutting brush. They'll be checking and cleaning ditches. They want to go in and strip some of the berms from the winter. They'll be checking the condition of identified culverts, these ones that we really have to figure out which ones we're gonna replace. The road foreman has started and, will continue to attend the leadership training that we signed up for. He went to his first class on Tuesday. I haven't talked to him to see how it went. Those are every other week for about, it's a full day. The road foreman is gonna complete the road conditions spreadsheet. He's made good progress, but now it's time to finish it. They will assist us because we received the rail trail grant, trailhead project. So we had it in there as in-kind work that the road crew would help us with wood chipping. They'll haul the stone, they'll place the stone in the foundation, and they're gonna level the area around where we're gonna be building the ADA ramp.
Is this in July?
No, before July. Yeah, we can work on that grant before July. I'm just still, we can't begin that project yet because we're waiting on this lease. We need a lease and not a permit to access. And there's just been miscommunication around that, but they're working on it now. And then Michael, I think Mike Green's gonna call you to do some cutting. If anyone else wants to get over there with the chainsaw. We did some clearing, I hope, beginning to mid-May. And then we'll have stump removal done and start. I asked Bill to place barriers over the floor drain tanks, and finally he's gonna be cleaning up piles of dirt around the parking lot here and now the transfer station at some point. Those are my notes.
I know that nobody has the crystal ball, but does he anticipate another $70,000 year in repairs next year? Or does he think that with the new truck and all the other things that we've done, we're gonna be in good shape?
Well, we won't get that new truck until at least December. And so he's limping them along the best he can. He just, the prices have tripled, quadrupled on something. And they've got, what did I say? They're doing what repair? Oh, starter.
Yeah.
So they're just.
Which one?
The old one. I'm just thinking if we need to, I know we can't actually adjust the budget, but if we should prepare ourselves for this same thing next year.
Well, we do have grants. We have one grant for their grant and aid, and that's gonna be doing 8 culvert and some ditching on East Hill Road. Applying for the new grant and aid, which is sort of signing that, but that will be next year. But then I do have a grant out, hoping to get it. We're just waiting to hear for a culvert on Elmore Pond Road, major culvert up there. That will keep them slightly busy, but he said he has to replace his culverts, and even if it means he's got to dig them up and see if he can reuse them and do the best that he can this year.
Are they plastic or galvanized?
The ones he's buying?
No, the ones he's digging up.
It varies.
It varies.
Yeah. He said if they're plastic, they're usually shot, and it's very difficult to take them out and shake them out and replace them.
It's fine. And again, I mean, conversation for a different day, but you've got all of the labor. The only thing that you're saving is the cost of the culvert, which is not nothing, but you've done everything that it takes to replace the culvert. And you're gonna save $6,000, just if you're gonna dig it up, put a new one in.
Well, that's his thought, but he's like, if we don't have the money to spend, I mean,
Yeah, I know.
he's got to do what he's got to do, and he has to do it within the budget, so.
Fine.
I mean, hopefully we can pull from the class 3 roads, but that's the construction.
Yeah, we're just,
But if we have to save it.
we're gonna have to find. I think we as a board in next budget season, we're gonna have to figure out how to afford this, because the roads need what the roads need and it costs what it costs. I get all of that, but I mean, the budget has climbed $300,000 in the last 5 years.
A lot of that is insured.
Yeah, well, I understand. That doesn't change the reality of how we would pay for it.
Well, the taxpayer.
Mutiny.
But there's people, the taxpayers are responding, you can't fix the road, do I mean, I don't know, you can't. I don't know where you're
Well,
gonna.
tell them to call me.
No, I can handle that, but I'm saying, I don't know. how-
They can't have everything. I mean, it's just, that's the way society is today. You've got to live within your budget.
You
I
can tell them
mean,
they're on the list.
well, yeah, it is
Only
on the
these-
list. And we can do what we can do, but we can't do it all.
I mean, I even suggest if they wanna buy the culvert, we can get up there and if it's under the drive,
Yeah.
even if it's in the right of way, they need it, I suggest it. That's the reality right now. I do hear all the time from FedEx drivers and PS drivers and other people that will go. Thanks.
Yeah, I hear that too. I think you do a good job of
And
not having a tax base.
yeah, and I know that I have leaned on this a lot and it's been 5 or 6 years since these guys have done it, but my experience with previous road crews was maintenance on equipment and roads was minimal. It reflected things were never improved. I don't remember ever seeing a project where a culvert was upsized. It was always just cleaned out.
Says every one of us.
And now we upsize everything that we do, and now we clean up and we are doing more than what was done in the previous 20 years. That comes at a cost. All of the,
Yeah, yeah.
all the.
Great plastic, great culverts are the third more, but they're the best, especially on 24, that's the, whatever, anything bigger than 24.
We're gonna have to figure out how to pay for it. That's our portion of the work.
We,
You can use this, you can use my.
Yeah. You're gonna be volunteer, you're gonna end up owing us money, you keep this up.
so what about those other 3 culverts for FEMA 24? Are they waiting for mitigation? Are they, where do they stand?
So we had one on East Hill, one on Town Hill, and 3 on Marsh. And those are the work to be completed. And they are moving on. Again, there's a couple other projects that I costed out, so Corey is just trying to figure out, because it wasn't capturing the data, so I just kept going back, and so we finally captured it. I have signed it, I believe. I signed something recently. Oh, I sent it back one more change that has to go back to their supervisors to accept that change. But they should accept it because we've always had it on our original sheets. This is for Marsh Road and Culvert that they just came out and did a new site inspection for. It's always been on our sheets, but they missed it. And so we're waiting for that to happen and then they'll move it forward. And then now we're just working on it.
So are they being filed under mitigation? Okay.
But that's the big thing that this causes last snafu, because Corey was lumping work that was completed with work to be completed. And I kept saying, that doesn't sound right to me. And he's like, no, you can get paid. And I said, I don't think we're going to get paid. It doesn't make sense that we would get paid until the work was completed for all of the project. And Grace Connolly, who is our state representative, confirmed that. And so then Corey had to break it all apart because that's the direction he really wanted to move in. So he had to then tear it down and repackage it again. It's a bit of a.
So Michelle, what's our total we're looking at?
I don't know, because that's what it is, it's grants to move forward. Our total in damages is over, I can get it for you. It's
284,000?
You got something like that.
Okay, so it's small compared to 2023.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Oh, okay.
but that is not, that's what we've spent. It's not an estimate.
It's not of the new ones you're, I just want to get our money back.
We don't have an estimate on that? You know, we don't care, we won't hold you to it,
Yes.
we can share it, I mean,
No, I've costed out Healer Pond, I've costed out Healer Pond and Flatiron, but I did not cost out the culverts because I don't know what they need to replace for those 5 culverts. Because I sent them the hydro study, I could cost out the only one that doesn't need a hydro study, but I don't know what they're gonna recommend to do.
oh, I see.
I mean, it could be the grand project where you
Yeah.
put box culverts, or it could be you just put in a squash culvert or whatever will fit. So I'm not gonna cost that one.
Okay. Yeah, I have a better understanding now.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I was like, give me a figure. I need a figure.
I can tell you what we spent. That's-
Yes, I understand it. Yeah, thank you. At least I can expect that much.
So if we move to the review action, we have the grant and aid letter of intent. It's for state fiscal year 2026. There is a 20% match, but typically unless we hire it out, and I think I would encourage that the town do the work, if that's match of any kind labor. So I think it's up to, I think I left that with you to sign the.
Yeah.
I believe it's 12,000 again this year, plus 3,000.
I think it comes out 15 for
Total.
and our share was 3,750 for 18,750.
This year they only gave us 12, which is interesting that they're increasing.
It depends on, you know, I don't know what the legislature gives them. I'm not sure where this money comes from.
Do we need a vote to sign the letter of intent? We typically get these. It's not like.
Right. Well, other grants we do, so we'll follow that practice. So I'll just have a motion to approve applying for the aid grants and aid program
I'll make the motion.
fiscal year 26. Have any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
And I'm going to note that the match is coming from in kind. People think when they see that meeting in this cap.
Where? Look, he almost looks like his ears are.
Just waiting for him to be out on a boat once. Just once.
Never thought of trying training for that.
What if I should get him an outfit?
No.
Just go. Get him a mayor hat. I have full time.
I have one Halloween, but that's it.
I've got a version of straw voter. I mean, that's a summer look to it. But you're liable if it gets damaged. Bullet holes or blood instruments.
Yeah, the Jollies came in and paid the taxes and they would not leave until they saw Jack. Make sure he was still alive. Yeah.
You set, Michelle?
Yes.
Okay, we did the transfer station, just a few updates. So I wanted to go over, some of our grant matches. The federal government has, pulled back all the money for the BRIC grant, which is the, abutments in the Mile River. We had a match of $6,500 for that. So I'll be asking, at the end of June to turn that back into our reserve that for our grant match in the future. But they took that information and they're going to apply for, Alex is trying to work it into a hazard mitigation grant. With that one, there'd be no match. But I mean, I don't know. We had already been accepted into this first one. I don't know about the hazard mitigation. And I had told you that we were going to use, that we could use some of this municipal planning grant money. Remember Seth wanted to apply for a municipal planning grant to upgrade some zoning. Well, you can't use it now because we tried to file for the closeout for the municipal planning grant for the schoolhouse. The engineer hadn't really given everything that is said in the scope of work, so we have an extension and he needs to finish, so we'll need to have that money, but we could have this one.
Sweet.
Yeah, just trying to keep track of it for Belinda.
Yeah.
Can you say
All these
that again?
grants.
What about, so the municipal planning grants?
So that's municipal planning grant for the Wolcott School House.
It was about
The
18.
schoolhouse.
About 18.
Our match was $2,008.
Yes.
I figured there was probably, I don't know, 1,600 left, maybe. No, I think it was more like 600 left. But we went to close it out. They want the rest of the information. It's a feasibility study that the engineer didn't complete. So they gave us an extension. We signed a new contract and he has till June 1st to finish it. So we'll be paying him more money. But when Seth came in for the municipal planning grant, he said it would be $500 to $1,000. We can use some of that 6,500 of the brick money towards that. Just trying to keep it straight for Belinda.
Because it's
For
not
coding.
easy and I need to know.
For coding.
So the municipal planning grant is not the brick grant?
No, totally different.
Okay, so the municipal planning grant that we had set aside like roughly $500 for, correct? That's the one I'm thinking of?
How about I just meet with you after? Instead of having to. The only other things is the town, closed on Oscar Woods property on the top of Spalding Hill, yesterday. And I have a scheduled closing for the one in North Wolcott on April 29th.
And then they'll go out for demolition.
Yeah, the asbestos and lead testing is gonna be done Tuesday. Once
And then you have Hunter, Eugene Hunter.
now he changed his mind.
Oh, my goodness. And what about Levi Martin?
Yeah, those three, Vermont Emergency Management are overseeing those three, except I have to be the liaison. They won't talk to the property owners. They do everything, but won't talk to them.
And they don't have a date for that.
Right now, they're having title searches done. That's all I have.
May I make a motion to adjourn this meeting at 8:10?
8:11.
Anybody second it?
We don't want you to go home, Rich.
Well, they can't do both. Second yet.
All those in favor?
All right.
I want to.
Yeah.